Welcome to another episode of Beyond Physical, where we talk about the mental, emotional, social, and at times spiritual benefits of exercise. We believe that exercise is more than movement, and this podcast is our attempt at sharing that message with the world by sharing our own as well as our guests' experiences and knowledge. If you enjoy it, we ask that you please spread the message by leaving a rating and review, or even better, by sharing with a friend. Welcome. Keri is back for the second time in a month. That's a huge treat. I think that's the quickest successive return to the show out of anyone prior. And this show is really exciting because it's an offshoot of a question that I asked with about 5 minutes left of our last episode, and really excited to get Kyra's input as well. We've managed to, I don't know if it's AD or who managed to pull this off, but Kyra's on the podcast. So welcome, Kyra, for the first time.
Yeah, they've been begging me for like a year.
Like
so.
more than that.
More than that, yeah.
I think you recorded the first episode of the podcast and then never returned.
Yeah.
Which was obviously not something that you
guys.
enjoyed. But Kyra's here. We're going to talk about basically how training and diet is affected or is affected by your menstrual cycle, or how one adjusts those things in accordance with your menstrual cycle. So just to kind of get a high-level overview, Keri, can you please give us the different phases? Yes.
Okay, so I think what's important to remember going in is that the menstrual cycle is typically 28 days, but the normal is between 28 and 35 days. So I think a lot of women or even men, anyone listening, they don't necessarily know that that is still within normal. So anywhere between 28 and 35 is normal. So we technically break the phases up into, I like to say, two big main phases. So we have the follicular phase and the luteal phase. So within the follicular phase, that's from day 1 to 14, and I'm saying that because it could be longer in a 35-day cycle. And that's the first 5 to 7 days is actually menstruation. So obviously the actual period, as everyone would know. And then from then on, it continues to be the follicular phase. And what tends to happen is we see like a spike or gradual incline in estrogen, which makes us feel really good. We have energy, we recover well.
Best time to be
a woman.
Yeah, best time to be a woman.
So that's kind of, we love what estrogen does for women. It makes you feel strong, you recover well, sleep better, respond better to food, everything like that. And then smack bang in the middle, we have ovulation. And that's also where we see a spike in testosterone. So we feel really strong, really good energy levels. And then the second phase starts. That's kind of from like day 14 onwards to day 28, 30, whatever the cycle is. And that's our luteal phase. So that's kind of where we see the estrogen starts to drop, progesterone rises, and that's when we start to see like the PMS symptoms, cravings, bloating, water retention, poor recovery, poor sleep, increased anxiety, stress, all those sorts of things. And then it gets back again to the day 1 of the menstrual or the period of menstruation again. So you obviously see women are fluctuating between these things. So we kind of have phase 1 and phase 2, which are, I would say, the biggest phase and the most crucial phases other than like the actual period itself. And yeah, I'm sure if you speak to anyone, I'm sure you can agree. You can literally feel the differences in your phases if you kind of know what to listen for and heal for and things like that.
Absolutely.
And it can make a very big difference in like how you eat, like say how you train. And I think also now not many people are taught enough about it. Like I know I certainly was in school, even in university, I'll be honest, it was touched on quite a little. And you see now, I'm only learning about it because 90% of the patients I deal with are struggling with kind of the aftermath of not knowing what the hell is going on in their body.
Yeah, I mean, I even have clients that, like, if I ask them, because I track my cycle, because it helps me understand, like, where I am, like, how I'm going to be feeling in the next couple of weeks, like, literally how to schedule my life. So for me, it's incredibly important that I do that for myself, but I've only become aware of that over the last, like, 3-4 years. Same thing with my clients. I get a lot of clients that come in and I ask them, do you track your cycle? Do you know, like, which phase you're in? Blah, blah, blah. Most of them don't have any idea that there are different phases of their cycle. So it's more a new thing, I think, that
Yeah.
people are only waking up to now, really, is understanding the different phases. And
I think it's quite useful when you speak on tracking is we have apps now. So you can literally put in the day one of your period or menstruation, and it can literally, the algorithm predicts and kind of gives you, you can even get notifications and things like that, which is quite useful because it is, like you said, it is something that's been overlooked for such a long time, and we literally had like no idea what's going on. And even if you don't like track, you kind of also just, like we said, winging it. And yeah, I think there's a lot of power and also like empowerment that comes with knowing what's going on in your body. And yeah, it's quite scary and sad to know that so many women
aren't aware of it. Yeah, I agree.
You mentioned that a lot of your patients are coming to you trying to work through dealing with the aftermath of not knowing what's going on with their cycle. What does that aftermath look like? What are the effects or the drawbacks of not knowing where you're at and what's going on in terms of your cycle?
Yeah, so what I kind of see is that if you don't understand your cycle, you don't understand hormones in general. And what I've learned is that the female body is a lot more receptive and I would say sensitive to changes in hormones than men are. So specific diets, and like this is diets and trends and things like that that could work really well for men do not work for females because that stimulus or this change in hormones have a really big effect on our cycle in general. So like for an example, if you're in too big of a deficit, for a woman, we respond a lot more sensitively and quickly to that than a male would. So like a lot of the time we can compare it to like a woman, as soon as we get into like the empty on our petrol tank, all the lights go on, all the things go, and there'll be a problem. Whereas maybe a male, they have like a much larger reserve tank. So you guys can be going on empty for way longer than a woman can without seeing effects, and be like kind of cool and fine. But for a woman, as soon as like, for example, you go into that low energy availability state that can come from like intermittent fasting, big calorie deficits, which is something I'm sure you see that women do a lot, is they want to lose weight and they cut the calories a lot. And
they
and
might
what
lose
tends
their
to happen-
periods.
Yes.
Yeah.
The energy goes low, we lose periods, struggle with a lot of other hormonal things, brain fog, frustration, tiredness, yo-yo dieting, going back and forth. So go back to your question. If you don't understand fully what your period is and your menstrual cycle is and the hormones and that are all involved, and even more than that, how they all interlink, then it's very easy to kind of get lost in like what trends and try it, not knowing that it's going to have a massive effect on your body.
And another side of this is getting a thorough understanding, I'd imagine, of where your hormone levels are at. When a patient comes to you, you want to get a comprehensive picture, right? To see is everything actually kind of cycling, fluctuating in the, looking for the word there, in like a healthy range. What are you looking for? Do you do a hormone panel, like a blood marker test with your patients? And if so, what are you looking at? What are the hormones that we're looking at in a panel?
So obviously testing specific hormones, it's important to, like you said, to know where they're on their cycle because they'll be at different levels. So to test estrogen in, the follicular phase, it's probably going to be higher than if you tested in the luteal phase or during your period or whatever. The main thing is that you see a lot of women with PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, and it kind of comes on spontaneously. No one really knows what the one cause is, where it's stress, environmental factors. Like we don't know for sure what causes it. So a lot of women come and they say, I'm struggling with XYZ. A lot of the time it's PCOS, and I can't lose weight. Like that is probably number one complaint. So what I would usually test is, obviously you want to test the actual hormones. You can test estrogen, you can test progesterone, you can test LH, and FSH, which is also an important reproductive hormone. Often I test cortisol as well, because obviously that plays a massive impact in stress, and stress has a massive impact in those hormones I mentioned earlier. Also testosterone, because in those conditions, we see a spike in androgens, which is technically the male hormones. We also have them as well, but we have them at a much lower level than men, obviously. But if they go too high, you do see hair thinning, acne, fatigue, all those sorts of things, and those are also typical PCOS symptoms. So you want to test those. I also test vitamin D because for women, vitamin D is always low or at the lower end of normal. And that's also the problem, like certain doctors, you get your blood results and it's all within the normal, all within the green, they go, cool. But you're sitting at the lower end of normal with vitamin D specifically. Vitamin D has a massive impact on insulin sensitivity, energy, fatigue, and it's really, really kind of like a key factor in PCOS as well. And then obviously you can check the insulin as well, so fasting insulin, fasting glucose, and if it's anything specific like iron, B12, sometimes CRP, which is your body's indicator of stress. So like if you have an infection, you go to the doctor, they'll test the CRP and it will be high. But you can have a raised CRP just from like everyday life. Like you're just living in a constant state of stress. And we spoke about it briefly in the last podcast, just kind of like being at this low grade chronic inflammation and how that messes with the hormones. And obviously as you age, you can test the cholesterol and things like that, which is also really, really important in like eating habits and things like that. So those are kind of like the main ones. Obviously tests can be expensive, so sometimes you want to chat to them first and get a gauge of like what they're actually struggling with, what are their symptoms, and then pick the blood test accordingly, because a lot of people don't get their bloods tested because they'll tick everything on the sheet, and it can come to like easy couple grand, which some people at that given stage aren't ready to commit to, and then consultations and all these sorts of things, they don't do anything, which is also just as bad.
Do you usually need, for instance, if I wanted to get a blood panel, would I need to get a written referral from you to go and get it?
So you, I've never tried to do it without one, so please, if I'm wrong, Instagram will correct me. But I have as like a dietitian, I have a practitioner's number with Pathcare, Lancet, whatever, so I can just tick them and you can go. Like you don't necessarily always have to come for a consultation. So if you say, I want to test my vitamin D, I can tick it for you, can go. But it just means who will get the results afterwards. Then I'll get an email with your results, because obviously I'll be like working with you as a patient, So I wouldn't say it's a referral, but you do need something. I think you can maybe go and request certain things by yourself. I've never actually tried.
And in terms of nutrition and where one's at in their cycle, is that something that you adjust at all? Is it pretty linear and you keep it the same, or how do you approach it from that
like
perspective?
cycle syncing.
Yeah,
Is
so-
it like beneficial at all? Because I think this is like I'm so curious about this, because I mean I've tried it before and I've definitely felt good eating different things at different phases of my cycle. But like, is it a thing that like every woman should be doing, or is it something that it's dependent on like how you feel in each phase, or
So I think that's always important to note when in any conversation about the menstrual cycle, is there's like no two women are the same. Like not even close. Some people don't have any period cramps, others may be like debilitating, they can't go to work, things like that, and cravings, all these sorts of things, a lot of other things at play in the body. I don't particularly write different meal plans according to the phase. Also, I think with nutrition, to be realistic, it needs to be easy. And people are not going to stick to it if I'm giving them too many things to change. Like this 2 week, I promise you I can blink and I'm like, how are we at the end of August? And I've completely missed, syncing cycles and things like that. But I think there is, like we said again, knowing and being aware of your cycle is important, because you can obviously give yourself grace in certain areas. So, for example, in the luteal phase, which is like the second half, post-ovulation, leading up to your period, we see there's like a rise in literal body temperature, which means you're burning more calories. There's a lot of other things going on. So we sometimes see women can need an extra 300 to 400 calories per day during that phase. And I don't ever say, when you in this phase, eat this snack, but it's good to be aware, like if you're feeling starving and you're in your luteal phase, eat something.
Yeah.
You know, eat something good, you know, like a high protein snack. Try not eat carbs alone, high protein carbs or fats, like, you know, stack the carbohydrates with other food groups to help manage the blood sugar, the cravings, because that's also a really big thing in that phase. We see lots of cravings, mood swings, things like that. But there are other key things that you can do. So like obviously we know magnesium can, obviously there's lots of different types, but certain magnesiums can help with muscle relaxation and cramps. We see people taking magnesium for sports and things that actually like muscle recovery.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Which type of magnesiums specifically help with cramps and muscle relaxing?
So
and things?
I must be honest, I recommend a complex either way. They all work very interconnected in a way. Some of them have different absorption rates. Some of them help with mood, brain health, helps with like certain neurotransmitters, muscles, things like that. So try and look for a magnesium complex. So Phytoceuticals does have one. Sutix does have a magnesium complex where you get like, I think it's like all 4 main types in one, which can be really beneficial because obviously some magnesiums help with sleep, and sleep in that phase can be bad. So there's like, that's what's crazy. There's so much at play. It's important to pinpoint rather than to try and fix everything at once.
Yeah.
So yeah, magnesiums, you can also get magnesium from like dark chocolate, green leafy vegetables, which is also a good way to get it from food. High fiber in the luteal phase, we're feeling more hungry, we're having more sugar cravings.
There's an iron one as well in luteal phase.
Yeah,
just to
iron, you're
dial
leading
in
up
on
to,
iron.
you know, leading up to menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
But obviously sometimes the thing is like, if you are low in iron, which is quite common.
I am anemic, so.
Yeah, anemia in women, eating a certain way for a 2-week period is probably not going to make a massive impact on your iron levels. Yeah. To get iron up is quite a tedious process, to take supplements, iron transfusions, things like that. So I think back to the question, because you're digressed. It's very difficult to hit every nail on the head when it comes to what they say you should do in cycle syncing. My thing is if you're eating a whole food diet that has lots of vegetables, lots of fruit, antioxidants, we have omega-3s, taking a supplement can be anti-inflammatory. If you're struggling with any of the following things like muscle cramps, brain fog, sleep, magnesium supplement could be very beneficial. And then if you are in your luteal phase and you are feeling hungry, like I also go through phases where I'm like, I'm so hungry today, I don't know why.
Same, I eat like 50% more in my luteal phase. Like way more than...
And the thing is just to actually know that like that is fine. So I think that's what's important, is knowing like this is the phase where I could be hungrier, or I could feel crap in my workouts or not be able to push as hard.
Or my body just needs more calories in this phase.
And taking that on and doing it in a healthy way. And obviously also being mindful of like cravings. And I think that's something that sometimes cycle syncing can be a bit of a problem, is we can use it as like justification for certain dietary behaviors when you shouldn't.
Yeah. No, I totally hear where you're coming from. So you would say, no. I hear you. So you would say a whole foods diet over any, because I do, listening to what you're saying now, like cycle syncing is quite extreme because you've got to think like each different phase you are actually completely changing your diet. And I mean, there's so much on the internet around this. I'm not sure if you've seen like in order to feel your best on your period, you need to eat this in this phase, and whatever the case may be. But I mean, the most sustainable diet is always going to be a whole food diet, which is, I mean, probably the easiest and best way to just support your body in every phase.
Literally. Even also, it's like, I think sometimes also people forget that, like, if you already do a whole foods diet and like you're still struggling with things, like variety is important. So like if the only vegetable you eat is green beans every single day, every single week, and a banana, and that's your fruit and vegetable intake, like probably also not, like, not saying it's not as bad, but I'm saying if you're looking to elevate your nutritional status, do better, feel better, increasing variety is massive.
Diverse options.
Gut
Stuff
health also is also massive from different variety. Like there's I'm trying to think of what it's called, but they basically say that if you're different colors of different foods hold different like antioxidants and things like that. So like a tomato versus a yellow pepper versus a red pepper versus a carrot, spinach, they all hold different antioxidant properties. Like it's not all one and the same. So if we're eating one type of vegetable always and only, you're not getting any of those other antioxidants and, superfoods, as people would call them. I hate that, but they do have good properties. So like also,
Why do you hate that? Sorry,
I don't like,
asking.
I don't know, the thing is,
Because nothing's really like a superfood.
yes, that's the thing. If you're doing like, and that's also like the idea with like biohacking, superfoods, all those sort of things. If the basics suck and you're trying to do this one thing, it's a problem. And like, I think that's sometimes what, like, even like, I'm not saying cycle syncing can do, but it's like, sometimes it's just about going back to the basics and doing the basics really, really well, understanding your body so you can make adjustments where necessary, have grace in certain phases where you may not be feeling your best, and being okay with that, not feeling guilt around it. And then when you feel better again, carry on.
Yeah.
Like the way that,
and explore with like you said, like the different nutrients and having just like, I guess, a more diverse options in your nutrition plan or however you eat. Interesting.
Speaking about going back to basics, I wanted to ask, because this I know we actually kind of touched at the beginning, but physiologically, what is actually happening during the luteal phase? Because it's the phase that I hear brought up the most, but I don't actually know physiologically what is happening. What's happening?
Yes. So what's happening is the progesterone's rising. Okay. So the two main female hormones are estrogen and progesterone. So estrogen is everything that's good. We love it. It makes women feel really good. It's bone protective, muscle protective, insulin sensitive. But basically, in the luteal phase, we're building up that endometrial layer so that when the egg is released, that it can implant in, and then obviously that's actually the follicular phase. Then we have ovulation, and then the thing is like, as we get into menstruation, that's going to be broken down.
Yes.
And then it's going to be released. So it's basically the building and the breaking down, the building and the breaking down. But progesterone it increases stress, makes you more insulin resistant. It can increase cortisols. It can have increased cravings. It can have mood swings. So there's a neurological effect as well. Increases our body temperature. So we may feel more uncomfortable. Can have like a bit of hot flushes. And that affects training, blood flow, all those sorts of things. So it is, yes.
I wonder if there's any. I wonder if there's any reason behind why there are those quote unquote unpleasant side effects to the increased progesterone around, because it's the uterine lining is thickening for implantation. If there's any reason for the not nice feelings, or if that's just it's just a side effect and it just comes with heightened progesterone. Like I wonder if there's any, because kind of point of
Point.
feeling
Yeah.
uncomfortable. Because also, and I've had this conversation with Claire, like with childbirth, for instance, which I think is so weird. So procreation is like one of the main points of our species.
Yeah.
So
Exactly, yeah.
sex is supposed to feel good, right?
Yeah.
So because it's obviously incentivizes us to do that thing.
Yeah.
But now childbirth is fucking insanely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it's the most important thing. And the same thing as the thickening of the uterine lining. Like, why does it not feel amazing? I don't know. I think it's like
Yeah.
a weird.
Why do we have to have this pain?
You know, I don't know. It kind of confuses me that nature wouldn't want
Yeah.
that to be like a reward-related thing, but instead it's for a lot of people super uncomfortable. I don't know. I don't know if you've read into that at all, or
The way that I feel about I'm going to speak from a personal perspective now, but like the luteal phase and like when it is uncomfortable, obviously I have no idea why. But like for me, it's a time that I really go like inward and I just feel more in my own little box, in my own little world, and like that it's time for rest and relaxation and just nurturing myself. I have no idea why it has to suck so much, but like for me, I think each phase takes us through a different journey. Obviously, that's looking from a completely different perspective. You can obviously touch on why it is so bad if you know, but
that makes sense
that's
to me
just
though.
that's how I see it, you know?
It's a forced slowdown.
Yeah.
Which
it's a
is
forced slowdown.
actually a positive thing. It just
Yeah.
obviously, from what I've heard, doesn't feel that
No,
nice.
no, not at all. Shame. Chris
Yeah,
said
no.
he's like, he'll ask me what's wrong. I'll be like, it's just the luteal phase. I'll be like, I don't know what that is, but he tries to understand.
And I think it's what's so interesting is like, I also don't know why it sucks. Like I'm just
Okay.
a food girl here. I'm not a doctor or anything. So, but it's also interesting that like a lot of people either don't know how bad it sucks, or women think that if it's sucking so bad, it's normal as well. Sometimes if your pain is really, really bad, your period or your menstrual cycle is really like, you feel really out of control. Sometimes women, like, and that's where like the whole thing of like certain men will say, oh, it's the hormones.
Yeah.
And like, we can't live without men, but sometimes like, you just don't know. Shut up. because it
quiet.
literally is like, it is something that sometimes a woman just can't control.
Yeah.
And
That's what it feels like, though. Like you are sometimes just completely out of control.
like, sometimes I'm just like, I'm just
I wish I could
grumpy.
explain what I'm doing,
Yeah.
or how I feel, but
Yeah.
I don't know why it's there.
Yeah. So I think it's also important that my point is that certain women also understand if you're going through a really, really rough time, something could also be wrong.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like, only recently there's a big kind of like menstrual woman's body conversation kind of coming out on social media and things like that. And a lot of the time it was like really unspoken about. So for a lot of years, women were dealing with problems, being told that, like, just get over it. You know, like, like, maybe you're not losing weight because, you know, you're not putting on muscle because you're not just working hard enough in the gym, or maybe you just need to eat a little bit less and, you know, you'll lose weight, or like the crumbs can't be that bad, you know. And now more than ever, we realize women are like standing up for themselves. They feel like they have a voice. They're going to the doctor. They're going to health professionals. They're seeing dietitians, even like speaking to personal trainers in fitness world about how they're feeling, and they're getting the answers and getting the results and feeling way better about like their body and how they feel, their moods and things like that. So I think it's also important that women understand that like if it is unbearable to the point where like you're like really in pain, you feel out of control, like get it checked out. And like if someone says you're lying, go to someone else.
Yeah.
Like I think that's something that at least I've learned in my own experience and like friends' lives, working with women, is that a lot of the time they'll sit down and like sometimes they cry because they just haven't been heard about their body, how they feel, their journey with their body image and weight and
Hormones in
hormones
general.
and all that sort of things. So I think at least I think it's a very important conversation that
Absolutely.
should be continue to have.
Talking about also severe discomfort and like going through a difficult time, and that maybe not being something that one should just accept. We've spoken a lot about food and things. Kyra, how do you personally approach navigating that phase for yourself, and also how do you guide your clients on their training when they are feeling really uncomfortable or low energy or whatever it may be?
So typically for myself, luteal phase can sometimes be quite rough. It's not, it's never really consistent. So some months are like quite bad, but again, I think it has a lot to do with my iron and blah, blah, blah. I've got work to do there. I know that for sure. But so luteal phase for me, I mean, sometimes I can train consistently depending on, you know, energy levels, rest, of course, because if I don't feel well rested, I can't perform at all. So, I mean, I generally will have no plan for that week, and I will just go in with the intention to move in some way, whether it be walking, whether it be mobility, stretching. Sometimes I'll try a little session, but if it feels too difficult, I'll just give myself a bit of grace and move on, do something else, or just not move for that day, because that's what I feel like, which is actually something that I want to get into later, and like listening to your body in that phase, and if it is something that, you know, we should be doing, and or if it's something that we should like not work against, but like, can we work against it? But anyway, so for myself, luteal phase, I'll just choose to go with how I'm feeling. And I do exactly the same with my clients. I try to teach them a little bit about their cycle and why they feel the way that they do. And, you know, when they come in and I can see the low energy, or actually I will always ask, where are you? How do you feel today? How is your energy? What do you feel capable of doing? Of course, we have a program, but that can be dialed down, or the intensity can go up. So honestly, I like to play it by ear without the pressure. I think that's been the best approach for me. And I mean, some of my clients that I've had, they don't struggle with the fatigue at all. They don't struggle with not sleeping that well, or they can just go, and that's amazing. That's great for them. And then you get some of them that they just came to literally do whatever they can, but they feel like they can't really do anything. And yeah, I just try come up with a solution, whether it be, like I said, stretching, mobility, playing it by ear. It's the best approach that I've found for myself, just because I can get quite up, down, and so can my clients as well.
Interesting.
Do you find that you have an inkling before you go into your luteal phase that it's going to be a rough one?
Of course.
Or is it just when it arrives, you're like, holy shit, this is hectic, this is tough? Or do you kind of sense beforehand, like, this one is going to be challenging?
I think it's always different for me. So I struggle, a bit of a personal thing, but struggle a little bit more with the mental aspect of the luteal phase. Like, it can be quite a, like, low period for me. And I mean, obviously you can feel that coming on very slowly. Well, it's I can't actually say that because it's actually always different. Like this month, I mean, last week, when we were supposed to film the podcast, that was like, did someone tell you?
No.
Oh, no, you were sick. I also wasn't available, so I was gonna. But literally, then I was like so brain foggy, and it came out of nowhere. And I didn't really feel functional at all. Like, I was just like, gotta be at home, don't want to be at work. That just came out of nowhere. And then the months, so when that happens, I'll just stretch. I'll literally take that week to stretch, mobility, focus on just getting whatever I can done, actually. But, sorry, what did you ask me again?
I asked if you can sense when a tough luteal phase is coming along, or if it's going to be an easier one.
It's always different. Like, it's hard to say because sometimes I can sense it, sometimes it comes completely out of nowhere, and then you just got to roll with it. So it's hard to know. You know.
I think it's like, I think for me personally, I sometimes like don't really have maybe as much of an awareness as you do. Like, I know, like, I've spoke to a lot of people. Like, I kind of just go for it, and then like when I feel bad, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, walk today.
This is not my
or
day.
I'll
Yeah.
wake up and I'll have like no energy, and things like that. But this is also where you can jump in.
Yeah, of course.
I've seen a lot of research around, so obviously the follicular phase, we've got estrogen, so it's peaking. So we're going to feel really, really strong. So obviously weightlifting,
Strength.
PBs, all
Yeah.
those sorts of things.
That's your
come in.
time to like lock in and get it done.
Gotta get it done. But sometimes like some people like don't even notice any difference in the luteal phase. I'll be like maybe like, oh, I just didn't eat. That's always my thing. I'm like, oh, did I eat before? Like I'm having a weak session. Maybe not like, okay, like what stage am I at? Am I at in my phase? But I think just on that, it's like it's really interesting to even like hear other people's perspectives, and like this is where like it becomes like a really fine balance, because it's like if the whole luteal phase is like 2 weeks, and then you've got another week of your actual period. So it's about kind of like, I feel like it's about finding what you love and enjoy to do. If you do it and you go into a session and it may not be as good as a session 2-3 days ago, that's fine, and you showed up. And I think that's really important. But I am someone that like, I think this is also a different conversation. This is going with your body. I think it's like, I've had with nutrition as well, it's okay to listen to your body, but like having the knowledge of the menstrual cycle also shouldn't become like too much of a guiding light. Because you can have a lot of, it can be now this is a mess unoffensive, but I'm a woman so I can say it. You don't want to use it as an excuse.
This is what I was going to say. I was going to say, like, sometimes, like, I don't like to preemptively go, okay, my luteal phase is going to be next week, and it's going to suck, and I'm not going to train that week. I don't like to do that. I like to go in, and I'm like, I will really just sit with myself and, you know, like, how do you feel? What can we do today? Try anything. If it doesn't work, switch it up. You know, I think, but I've definitely learned that, because there was a time where I was like, I would just, oh, it's my luteal phase. That's fine.
I've never been as in tune in that. And I think it's like having understanding, but also like women can very easily like hyperfixate on certain things. And especially like from like an eating perspective, some clients are like super disciplined, and then they're like, oh, like, can I have this extra snack? I'm like, have the snack, you know? So it's that also in it. Are we making excuses because of where we think we are in our phases, or is it actually how we feel? And like, where does like discipline come in? Because
I've also seen that.
To some extent, you need to have some sort of discipline to reach your goals. And that's what we said in the last podcast, like just kind of like going la-di-da-di-da with whatever you feel can very easily make you undisciplined and not get the results you're looking
Absolutely.
for. Like you can't eat excessively for the whole luteal phase, because
Just because it's your luteal phase.
Then you're out of a calorie deficit for 2 weeks. And you're not going to lose fat. Full stop. So, I think it's a very fine line. I think that's sometimes where like having people who know what they're talking about, like having a personal trainer or a fitness coach or whatever, dietitian who knows what's going on, but can also be like, girl, reel it in.
Yeah.
Like get it together.
Me personally, if I have a client that comes in and they are on their period and they tell me that they're on their period and that they're not feeling too great and whatever, and we get into the session, the first 2-3 movements I'll try and make relatively like okay, just to see like where they are, and if I can see that they've got more in them, we'll go for it. But I think, like you were saying, a lot of people will just be lenient and just convince themselves that they are on their period and that they don't have to. But I think, again, it all boils down to how you feel and where you are.
Yeah.
It's also so nuanced, I think, because as you raised earlier, it's quite it feels like a relatively new hot topic in research. It's something where the little bit of research that I did do, most of the outcomes were inconclusive, where it was always like it's case dependent. And ironically, I did no research on anything to do with strength training. It was fine motor skills and reaction time and like general cognition. And then I have an anecdote from an endurance athlete, but I don't have anything related to strength training. You would be far more qualified, Kyra, to speak to that as you have. But from what I saw, really interestingly was the study I mentioned to you prior with UCL, the University College of London. They did a study with, it was 240 odd female football players, and they spoke to them at different stages in their cycles and asked them how they thought they would fare on certain tests that had to do with reaction time and I think it was memory. And the majority of the respondents or the subjects, they said that they believed that they were going to perform worse when they were on their period, and significantly, they actually, after the study was concluded, they performed significantly better in both reaction time and their recall and memory whilst they were on their period as opposed to not. And at the end of the study, the lead researcher was like, this is still inconclusive. Like, obviously, it was only football players. It was mainly these tests. It was whatever. But it also, and there was variation amongst the sample group. But it also speaks to a really cool point that we were just discussing, which is kind of how you feel might not always equate to how you're going to perform. And you kind of, as with other physical things, you kind of want to feel it out, I think, and see where you're at as you do with your clients, because sometimes your body surprises you and I've actually had that just also anecdotally, like lifting, where I'm like, oh, I don't feel so good today. And then I PR and it's like, where did that come from? Like that's so interesting. So that I found really interesting. And also, I know different people approach it differently. Like Carla, for instance, when we were on that 9-4 panel, she was asked about training on your period. And she was like, I just don't pay it any mind. Like, I just try and not think about it, and I just go. And that's obviously very hardcore. She's very hardcore, but it works for her, you know? And it might not work for Keri or Kyra, but everyone seems to have a different approach, and you have to try different things, I'd imagine, to see what works for you.
Absolutely.
Which makes it also even more confusing for people who aren't in our industry, because they're like, what do I do? And it's like, well, this is what the research kind of says. It's inconclusive. Go figure it out.
I also think it's like just the benefits of exercise, like if you just look at it like as an isolated case, could probably solve a lot of the things we're feeling when we're on our period. So exercise increases blood flow, and blood flow is good for anything like cramps and things like that. Also, if you like exercising, there's endorphins that come up and can help with those feelings of like blue, anxiety, whatever. So like if you're feeling really crap and like you got cramps, like cool. Like I'm also like, no, I'm like on the bed. But then like days afterwards, I'm like, let's go for it. And like, let's just see. Like even if, like you said, even if you're going for work, you come, lift, blast some music in your ear, whatever, and you'll probably end up feeling better.
Yeah, I was just going to say, sometimes you feel so much better afterwards.
Yeah, so
sometimes you don't.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to, like you said, you just need to push yourself a little bit, and also like you said, you have to know yourself. But I think like I feel like I find a lot of women are very susceptible to the like
leniency.
Yeah.
It must be very interesting from like an athlete's perspective, because when you have your period and you're an athlete, like you just got to carry on training. Like what if it's like, well, I guess there is no consideration for like really how you have to feel. So like what you were saying about Carla, like
I think that's such a valid point.
Yeah.
And again leans into the whole context element of if you experience debilitating period cramps and you're a professional athlete, you're going to approach that differently to somebody who is not getting paid to perform physically. You might be more willing to go and just do that session anyway, because for you the reward of doing the session is actually significantly higher, and bearing that discomfort that reward is higher than someone who's just doing it recreationally, and it's actually probably worth it for them. But if you are a Gen Pop person who's trying to look after your health and well-being, and maybe it's going to be mentally really unsettling to like force and grind your way through a workout like that, probably just shouldn't do it, you know? So, but that must be crazy.
Yeah, that must be nuts. I'm just thinking to myself, if I had to push through some of the like my last period, if I had to push through that, I think I'd die. Like, I think I would collapse.
I think it's also like if you have training programs, like, okay, like if you're a runner and things like that, like switch it out. I don't know if that's like in programming you can do that, but like if
Like
you have a
deload
long
weeks
run,
and stuff like that.
like don't long run, do the short run and do the long run at another day when you're feeling a little bit better.
Yeah.
Like those sorts of things, like just moving it around, like allowing for some flexibility when you aren't feeling so good, but still showing up is really really important. But yeah, I think just it's like I said, it's very person dependent, and like as like a trainer or a coach or like even me as like a dietitian, it's about like, you know, giving advice to the people or giving advice that they need in that time. That's why, you know, general advice, blanket statements about supplements, dietary advice, fitness advice is like confusing.
It's not one size fits all.
So just
unfortunately.
find someone that you think you trust, or you like what they're talking about, or they look fun and you click with as a person, and then listen to them and follow them and let them help you through everything to do with your body, health, fitness, things like that. Because then you just end up going around in circles with training types like Pilates, cardio, strength training. We had a little bit of a conversation last time about that like whole muscle stimulus thing, and like how the girls want to do all these sorts of things and eating certain diets and low carb, carnivore, intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
And people just jumping on certain things. And like I said to you in the beginning, women are massive, way bigger, way more sensitive to drastic changes and things like that than men are. Women, like I said, don't have as much testosterone as males, so they're never going to bulk like a male unless you really work hard. And like focus on it. So I think social media and
there's so much out
statements
there,
is
and
confusing.
it's so hard because like there's so much misinformation in the fitness and with what you do as well, but then now also with menstrual cycles, and like you said, there's never going to be a one size fits all. Like me and you, we have so many differences. Like you can train in your luteal phase totally fine most of the time, right? Me, no.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting for me how different it is person to person, like even within our team as well. Like Demi is so strong when she is like on her menstrual phase, and for me, I'm like, I don't even want to lift something up, you know. It's just so interesting to see.
It's also I think it's like interesting to see like couples or friends or groups that are like of different genders do the same thing.
Yes.
Like it's very interesting. Like it doesn't always work. Like I've seen lots of like Instagram reels or TikToks, and it's like my boyfriend and I did the exact same plan for 12 weeks. He's got a 6-pack. I don't.
I can't.
But that's a valuable lesson.
It is.
Because it teaches you that,
But that's, it's like important.
it's...
Do you know what I want to do? I want to get a period simulator.
Oh, yeah.
And get it
On
on
the males.
all of these guys.
Isn't it like a shock thingy?
Yeah.
Yes, it basically...
Pulses on your stomach.
I've done it before. How was it?
Mark
Level
got to
7.
level 7 or 10.
What's the max?
10 is like the worst one.
Okay.
How did you feel, Mark?
Okay, I don't know, it's completely...
You can
Come
come
here.
here.
Have to
Get
get
in
in
here.
here.
Special guest, Mark Williams.
We've got Mark on the pod, guys.
Join the boys' side. I'm totally unqualified to talk about. I don't know why I spoke up.
No, just tell us your experience.
But it was, I think
I
it
did
was
it.
slightly different because it's a muscle stimulant. So like my knees locked up and like that, so it wasn't
Your whole
completely,
body was glitching.
I'm assuming that doesn't happen. I don't know.
Did you have a female there with you?
Yes. So
That-
you actually do you know what's her name? Candace Chiwa. She's the Minister of Menstruation. It was great
Okay.
because I was filming a soccer tournament and she was talking to all the coaches about exactly this, like how your athletes how it affects them
Performance
during
and- yeah.
their cycle. And they were, it was funny, put them on the coaches, they didn't get past like level 2.
That's so
Oh
funny.
my
And
gosh.
the women, did they say it compares?
Yeah, they were like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to put this on. I do this. So
I've seen videos and stuff of like the boyfriend and the girlfriend standing next to each other, and the guy is like glitching all over
Yeah.
like the face, and the girl's just standing there like this, like she's
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
used to it.
So probably because the coaches lasted like 5 minutes. So anyway.
Oh my gosh.
I'm out. Bye.
I've seen ones of like, well, there's this one lady that's done it with like she goes to some gym and she did it with like pretty much all the guys that were in the gym, put it on them, had them run, like took them through a session, and it was the most. I think I sent it
smart.
to you, didn't I send it to you?
think you
I think
did.
I'm gonna do that to you guys.
That's smart. I
I'm
think that's
totally
really
gonna do
cool.
that to you
Organize it.
guys.
I'll watch it.
And I will test it just to see if it's like legit.
It's legit.
I don't mind.
Yeah. But yeah,
Interesting.
I think the male versus female conversation is something that like also I see often because, like you said, like the whole research study thing, for a very long time, research wasn't done on women or using a
I was
woman
gonna say this.
population or group in the study. So what we would do is you would do the study and then you would just extrapolate the results to the general population. And then only over time do we realize, okay, the women and males' physiology and anatomy is not the same. So the results we got on men and the results we got on women, we can't compare the thing. So that's also like in fueling and like muscle building and strength training and all these sorts of things and like nutrition. A lot of the time, the male population can sometimes dominate the fitness industry and the nutrition industry, and then women just jump onto the bandwagon, especially like professional athletes. Like I follow Carla on Instagram as well, and she loves eating, and it's amazing. And like I follow so many women or like professional athletes who are like packing in the carbs, and it's like they're still lean, and they're still high-performing athletes. So it's like a lot of conversation, like people are either scared to because of what the tells us, or they try and jump on a diet, like maybe like intermittent fasting, that can work really well for males, but for women, it's
Not so much for your
not
hormones.
so good. Yeah, for the hormones, it sees that like fasting period is a little bit of like a stress in the body, and a lot of the time with intermittent fasting, we can go into like certain low energy availability states, messes with the menstrual cycle, estrogen, progesterone don't go and fluctuate at the rates that they should, lose periods, or the men are getting like their mind's super clear, you know, like people saying like you feel so clear and sharp, but for women it's like they're not eating, so they're like like they don't, or even in the short term it could work really well, but then it cuts out. So I think again it's important to like note that men and women aren't the same, and certain things that may work for men won't work for the women, or it will, but she just needs to be patient. And women don't always stick to certain diets and fitness regimes long enough to see the results that they're looking for, which is also
Very true.
problematic.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they'll
Like
jump
men
off it.
literally have a 24-hour cycle. Like that's it.
Yeah.
We've got like 28 to 35.
Five, yeah.
Around there.
Hormonal cycle.
Yeah. You can't
And
can't be
that,
doing
yeah.
the same thing as a man. But like you were saying, like a lot of research on most things have only been done on men. And I think especially hormones as well. I've also had experience, you know, going to doctors and no, you're fine, you're good, you know. Just because I think that up until now has been such a lack of research done on the woman's body.
Yeah.
I think there's still such a gap and still a lot of
Totally.
research that needs to be done. I mean, as I said, a lot of the stuff that I'm reading still says either the study is still in progress or it's inconclusive or whatever it may
Or
be.
they'll like add a new research question at the bottom, like to draw X, Y conclusion, we need X, Y, and Z study
Yes.
to be done to confirm it, and things. So yeah, it is hectic, but it's also just like back to the basics.
Yeah, the basics
Just work.
The basics work
Yeah.
all the time. Strength training, nutrition, all of it.
What I also figured out, and you correct me on this if this is wrong,
Okay.
but, and you can also actually, it's for both nutrition and training, but I feel like the question was constantly being viewed from how your cycle affects the way that you should eat and train, whereas it should be the other way around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your training and your eating affects the kind of effectiveness of your cycle more than the opposite. And that is the kind of leading thing of, is everything in order?
You'll need to clip that.
Clip
That
that.
was good.
Clip that.
Clip that shit.
It's kind of like, is your nutrition supporting your bodily functions and the physiology working the way that is giving you the most freedom to enjoy your life however you want to enjoy it? Not, where am I at? Okay, let me change this, let me do that. It would be more beneficial.
Nurturing yourself throughout.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that was like the main thing that jumped out at me. I was like, oh, this thing is like the other way. It's
Round.
it's
Yeah.
not, how do I change now that I'm here?
Yeah.
It's like, how am I just giving myself what I need so that how I'm feeling and where the hormones and everything are at is, healthy and within range. And just on hormones, how regularly should a woman be getting a panel? Once a year, once every 6 months?
A year.
That's a good
Once a year
question.
is kind of like the kind of go-to. Try not to push it longer than a year, because a lot can happen in a year. A lot of environmental things can change within a year. So I think also sometimes people do push it longer, and then when they do get it tested, they're stuck with maybe like blood tests or results that they're not necessarily happy with. So I would say an annual test is good. And also, like, for example, I try and do, even if they've had it like 3-4 months ago, I'll try and just do it again, just so I have the results, and it's kind of like a baseline marker ahead of like whatever nutrition or lifestyle changes they are making. So I think, it's really important. And so, like, I'll usually do blood panel, and then we'll do like a body composition scan, so we know, like, we have all our baseline markers, and then for whatever happens afterwards, we have a comparable sign. Because I think what I've learned, at least in nutrition, is that if you don't set goals correctly or measure the correct thing, it's very easy to get lost in like your progress or your lack thereof, as some people view. So if your goal is like, some people say, like, my goal is to lose 7 kgs in a month, and they don't reach it, they stop. But they haven't said, okay, my blood markers improve, my muscle mass has increased, how's my energy, how's my mood, do I feel stronger, like all these things. So I have mental clarity, all these sorts of things that come with changing your lifestyle is really important. So, like, I try and be really clear with what goals you're setting. Are they realistic? Is there anything else we can focus on that's not the scale? Because if it doesn't budge in a month, which a lot of the time it doesn't, and then like people are like, oh, okay, like you're not good at your job, okay? And they'll go and find someone else. They'll be like, but you've done it for a month. You can blink and a month is gone.
It's crazy that that's the expectation from most people. Like, in a month, I want to lose 10 kgs, and like, there's not a
wild.
lot of consideration for like what's really going on. Like,
literally.
like you were saying.
And to I always say, like, to lose a kg of fat, you need to be in a 7,700 calorie deficit
Per
to
week.
do it sustainably,
in general. So, like, if you only reach that 7,700 kcal deficit in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, some people only do it.
Interesting. It can be spread over different time frames.
Time periods. So, like, I will never. So it's, and then that's what also happens. So, like, making sure it's sustainable, so we're not having those negative effects on like our body and our menstrual cycles and all those sorts of things. You have to do it within a good, well-controlled, sustainable deficit, and then you kind of see the benefits. But I actually was speaking, I saw something on Instagram, and I was chatting to a client about it, and she actually mentioned it back when you were like checking in. It's just like, there was a reel, I think it was like on a Mel Robbins podcast, and they were basically saying, if we gave ourselves enough time that we did our bad habits, so if we give us our good habits enough time as our bad habits, imagine how successful we'll be in our health. So I'll say to clients, it's like, how long have you been struggling with your weight? They'll be like, 5-10 years. like I've been this weight, okay? So it's like, and now you want to fix that in a month. Like that ratio doesn't make sense. So it's like if you have been struggling so long with yourself for such a duration, give that same duration to the good habits and see how effective you'll be. And that's the thing is like people want this miraculous change within 2-3 months and they don't get it and they quit. And then, so it's just about putting it into perspective. Like we give so much time to bad habits and we spend so much time building bad habits, but we don't give our good habits the same amount of time to reap the results or the reward.
Such a good way to look at it.
And and lifestyle is just that, like you said, with eating for the menstrual cycle versus like syncing to the menstrual cycle versus eating so our menstrual cycle is good and our body is good. It's the exact same thing as it's like also our life is shouldn't be seen and our health shouldn't be seen in small 3-month chunks.
Yeah.
It's like this whole longevity conversation. And we're also getting women who are coming in like their menopause phase. So like 40s, 50s that are coming and they're like, my body is out of whack. And that's obviously the hormonal thing. But it's like also, how much time did they spend setting the foundation so when they were in perimenopause and menopause, we had muscle mass, we had good habits in place, we were eating really well, we had control over our health. Like that's also not happening. So I'm very excited to hopefully have like a generation that prioritizes health. So like when we're getting to that age where our parents, they can still stand up and be functional and independent and pick up grandkids and, do things independently, carry their grocery bags, not be like unstable. And that also comes down to like strength training women
100%.
now so that later they're good. It's just I think people are very impatient.
Yeah.
And if they can just learn to be patient, they'll see such good results.
The thing with being that impatient as well is that if you're going to spend, or if you're wanting to spend 1 month losing 5 to 7 kgs, and then you go back to living your life and doing whatever you want to do, it's only a matter of time until you're back to square one again. And then you've got to try this whole cycle over again. So why not just make it something that you can carry through with you for your whole life? Just healthy habit stacking.
And also, I had a conversation with another client and she was new and she actually came from a really good personal trainer friend, and we were discussing and she was speaking about like her diet cycling. And I was saying is that like if you have a fat loss goal, and now we're kind of going off women, it's just everyone in general. If you have a fat loss goal or a specific thing you're working towards, what's really interesting, and like I don't often see being spoken about, is we focus a lot of time and energy on learning how to be in a deficit.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we put you in a deficit, we want to lose fat, say it's a 6 to 8 to 3 month cycle of a deficit. You need to cycle off a deficit into a maintenance phase. And I think that's also where the problem with fat loss and weight loss comes in. We spend so much time in a deficit, we reach our goal, and I always say to clients, and then what?
Yeah.
And they go, oh, no, I'm good, I don't need you anymore. And I'm like, but you do, because you actually don't know how to maintain this weight. Yeah. So let's just see for the next month to 2 months to 3 months if we can maintain this weight. If we've created habits in a maintenance phase that can leave you lifelong. Because then they'll come back and they'll be like, oh, I went on holiday. And I'm like, okay, you need to learn how to
make it sustainable
when you go on holiday. So even just like adjusting calories out of a deficit into a maintenance and be like, what happens to our body? Do I pack on the weight? Do I feel way more hungry? Am I way too full? Understanding those things as well, which is like I don't often see done outside of like athletes, because you guys obviously have like training phases, and like I don't really necessarily work with like the bodybuilding bulk phases, but it's more like kind of like endurance athletes and things like that. But you have training phases, so like think of your life also as like that, like you'll be eating a certain amount in this phase, but now you've upped your kilometers in the week, or the next month, this next phase, you've upped by double. I don't know how it works, but I'm just saying hypothetically for interest's sake, your food's got to change. And then you've run the ultramarathon, now what are you doing? You're not going to eat the same when you were eating and when you were training for it. And it's the same in like rugby, soccer, anything. You're in a pre-season, in-season, post-season, very different phases, and we need to be able to cycle and do them well. It's the same with fat loss, weight loss, deficit phase, maintenance phase.
Also, ultimately,
muscle building phase.
you make such a good point because it also serves you to try and reduce the amplitude of your weight as much as possible. If you are an athlete, for instance, and you let's take fighters, for example, Trickus and those people, they have to make weights to fight in a certain category, and a lot of the time they walk around at like 8 to 10 kilos bigger than what they weigh in at, which is unbelievably unsustainable and very unhealthy to starve your body like that. So if you do a weight cut, you fight at a certain weight, whatever, and then you do like a post diet to kind of equalize or normalize maybe a little bit closer to your fighting weight than your normal walking around weight, you're going to do a lot more for your body and the way that you function day to day, because our bodies love homeostasis. It's like we like to stay in that kind of regulated mode. So if you can limit that as much as possible, I think as an athlete as well, you're going to be far better off. And it's personally, it's a big thing for me when I drop weight to do an endurance thing, just to be kinder to my joints. I try and, you know, if I start, like I actually texted you on Instagram about, if I start getting a little bit depleted and I'm not feeling good, then I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not doing this in a sustainable way, and I need to relook at it. But I feel like what I've been getting wrong for my endurance life is that I've never done a post-event diet. I just kind of go back. Like I generally eat quite well, despite what you said about my breakfast. I, stick to whole.
You're not unhealthy.
Stick to whole
really
foods.
touched about that.
Stick to whole foods and things like that. But I eat a lot, like volume-wise. So I'll like drop a few, like 3-4 kilos, run my event, and then I'll just like go back to what I was prior because I'll like stop tracking, which is, it's not a huge swing. But if I can not do this every time I do an event, that's probably going to be much better for my body.
So, sorry, just on that, it's really interesting you mentioned like the homeostasis thing, because what sometimes people don't realize when you're doing some sort of like, cut, I don't like to say that, but like fat loss phase, because you never want to lose muscle, point. So fat loss phase, doesn't have to be weight loss, is that if your body's always going to fight for homeostasis. So say, for example, someone's body sits comfortably around 65, okay? And that's kind of where they always bounce back to. There's a theory called the set point theory, but there's a lot of contention around it, but just for interest's sake. So you have this weight that you kind of sit around. Your body is programmed to maintain and to maintain homeostasis and things like that. Now you're cutting calories drastically, maybe in your case, for example, too drastically for the amount of training could have been previously you're trying to do. And then what happens is you've now swung your body out of homeostasis. So what your body goes, alarm bells go off, and it makes it harder for you. So it makes you hungrier, it makes you have cravings, all these sorts of things that like that weight loss is actually really, really difficult and unpleasant to do. You're not recovering as well. All those sorts of things. People quit because it sucks. And then they go back up to the set point. And that's also where yo-yo diet's coming in. You'll lose the weight for a certain amount of period. As soon as you stop, your body will be like, thank God. And it'll push it back up. So exactly back to like healthy deficits. Is like doing it within a healthy deficit. And that's how we had the whole, like I also spoke about, can you lose fat while fueling? That conversation is still really important because you'll still be fueling your body in the way that you need to, but your calories will be lower in a sustainable way so that you don't have massive cravings, feel starving, feel uncomfortable, tired, suck at your workout, all those sorts of things. Because your body will always try and push you back to homeostasis. And a calorie deficit is technically a bit of a stressor. So
I guess you could almost look at it like fasting. Like if you're fasting, you're not necessarily going to next day go and eat like normally again. You have to sort of like wean yourself off of your fast, right? So I guess that's a good like comparison for people to.
So your body's going to always fight against something that's slightly unnatural.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time that's where dieting fails.
Yeah.
It's because we're doing it, or we're either doing it like we're trying to do it sustainably, and number one, we've either completely underestimated how much calories we actually need to survive and do the function, which is quite common. Like you'll see women be eating like a 1-4, even sometimes a 1-2 diet, and like exercising. Maybe they genuinely thinking they need 1,600 calories. And it's not. You're going to be needing like way north of 2,000 if you're exercising quite regularly. So either number one, they underestimate how many calories they actually need, then put themselves in somewhat of a sustainable deficit and they're way under, or they want quick results and think they can do it. So then they cut the calories drastically. It doesn't work and it ends up failing every single time. And then that's why unfortunately, like I sit down with a lot of women who are like, I train all the time for a year and I have not seen a body composition change, which is crazy. Like I have patients like, oh, I've been doing CrossFit for a year. I've been doing weightlifting with a personal trainer for a year. And I haven't seen a change, and it's really frustrating. And then we go, okay, cool, you're probably eating really wrong.
Yeah, way too little.
Way too little. And that is, which is kind of ironic. But yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And the more like I'm in private and work with clients, it's a pattern that happens over and over and over and over again, to the point where I'm just like, just please eat the banana, please eat the
I think a key thing there as well is ideally you would want to get both right. But
yes.
to invoke some sort of change from your body, you want to apply some element of a stressor. So whether it's reducing the energy intake or increasing it, or increasing the load or intensity of the resistance or exercise you're exposing your system to. If it's the same thing the whole time, there's no change that's going to happen. The body is an adaptive thing that responds to new stresses or different stresses. It doesn't even have to be new. It can be something you've done before, but it's unusual. So the body's like, how do we adapt to this? So it's like, I think that's also why a lot of the time, like, I mean, we all have jobs, is because people sometimes, it's actually so simple. It's so simple, but it's a very difficult thing to get right.
The way I see it is like, if you're not fueling yourself enough, where's the room for you to grow? Like, how are you going to progress and get better at something if you don't have enough? Like, nutrition, just level of intensity with your workouts, et cetera. But
How did you learn nutrition though? Because since I've known you, you've always been quite good with it. Like you always bring a lunchbox. Your food has nice color.
do we want to get into this one? The bodybuilding era of my life made So I did a little bit of like, I was training like a bodybuilder, eating like a bodybuilder. It put me in a place with my cycle. I was in a deficit for far too long. And then after that, it went to binge eating and. So I've had to almost teach myself. And obviously, I've spoken to a lot of people within this industry as well. But do as much research on how to fuel myself properly. And I've learned a lot through obviously eating disorders and stuff like that, and most definitely healed now, which is amazing and incredible. But yeah, just understanding what my body needs, I think, and always like if I don't have that, the way that I feel if I'm not fueling myself properly, it's not worth it for me. It's not worth it. And also like that goal of being that tiny or not eating enough or whatever, like what was all of that for, really? You know what I mean? So I think having gone through all of that has just taught me that if I'm not eating enough, if I'm not fueling myself correctly, if I'm not giving my hormones what they need, I'm going to feel shit all the time. So I think more so just life lessons than,
It's tricky for people who don't have exercise as a hobby to have that experience. Obviously, I would never want for someone to experience an eating
course not,
disorder or
yeah.
something like that, but your hobby was
That's not
actually...
the way to learn.
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
just
Yeah,
to
yeah.
put that out there, that is not the way
Totally.
to learn, but that is my personal
Yes,
experience.
your interests were the catalyst to learning so
Yeah.
much about the thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think a lot of normal people don't generally find like exercise as like a
Yeah.
fun recreational thing. It's like, oh fuck, I've got to go lift, I've
yeah.
got to go walk or run
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
But to bring us full circle, I want to, if you guys have, it's fine if you don't. I suppose a closing bit of kind of wisdom, or just when it comes to one cycle, what's the one thing that you think from a nutrition standpoint is important to keep top of mind, and then from a training perspective?
Okay. I think I like, this is literally my catchphrase, but I think it's really important to just eat enough. As soon as we don't eat enough, there is a massive domino effect that people don't even realize that is happening. And I think it's a very clear distinction we have to be very clear about. Discipline is not the same as damage. So by eating so little, you are damaging, you are not disciplined. And like you said about the eating disorders and everything, I see so many women, it's like when you shrink yourself too much, you become weak.
Yeah.
And you can't do what you set out to do, and it's not going to be sustainable. You're going to be frustrated. It's going to affect you way more mentally than anything else. So yeah, just eat. You need to eat enough.
You need to eat, you need to sleep, you need to be kind to yourself,
Yes.
and not eat, because that for me has also been one of the things that I've really learned about like training as well. Like if you're not eating enough on your cycle, it makes everything 10 times worse. But then also I think for me, listening to your body, but in, how do I say this? Like being real with yourself. Like, do I actually really feel that bad? You know what I mean? Like, I guess testing the waters when you are on your period, and not convincing yourself that things are worse than they are. Because I think a lot of women can do that. But at the same time, being kind to yourself.
I think it's the kind of the conversation we had just about, like you said, everything to a degree.
Yes.
Discipline to a degree.
Everything with a pinch of
flexibility
salt as
to a
well.
degree. You know, like enjoying yourself in fun foods and things to a degree, drinking alcohol to a degree. Everything is like that moderation, push and pull. And I think with women, we can swing very easy to the one end or the other. We struggle to just sit within the middle. We either
Extremes are a big thing.
Yes, yeah. We're either being way too chilled and not getting any results, or we need to learn some discipline.
Way too hard on ourselves.
And then we're back in square one. So it's about kind of like finding the happy medium. And through like a lot of the clients that I've seen, and even in like my own journey with like fitness and things like that, like we're speaking about like, do I have a program with training and things like that? For so long I didn't. And I didn't land up where I wanted to be physically, strength-wise. So it's like we have people who know what they're talking about for a reason. Just listen to them and find that person or those people that can actually help you, because a lot of the time it really doesn't work alone.
Yeah, and please don't listen to everything that you see on the internet. That's a big one. That's a huge takeaway. Don't listen to everything.
Except this podcast.
Except this
podcast.
Listen to absolutely everything and don't fact check any of it. No,
Yeah.
you definitely do that. One small discipline piece of advice that can be broadly applied, given my lack of experience in this topic, is ask yourself, will I feel better or worse after doing this thing?
That's a good one.
If you're feeling like shit, fine. Do you think if you do the walk, you're going to feel worse or you're going to feel better? If it's worse, don't do it. Relax, it's fine.
Yeah.
If you're going to feel better, but it's just you don't feel like it,
That's a really
Don't
good
do it.
one
That's how
coming from you,
convince
Seb.
yourself to run in
what
the
are you
dark.
talking about?
Hey?
I'm great.
Is
with
this how
that.
you
This is-
convince
this is
yourself
a
to
good
run in
one.
the dark?
Yeah, that's actually true.
No, he's
And I
actually
know-
just nuts.
But I know I'll feel better
Right.
because that's my...
I'm a part of the
my
Horizon Run
sanctuary.
group.
Are you?
Yeah, and
I'm
I always
I'm
ask
a
for-
quiet sitter on the group. And every single day I see these messages, I'm like, oh my
These
God.
people are crazy.
Even like Claire will be like, I'm going for a run at 6. You'll be like, I'm going for a trail run at 6, 80 to 90 minute easy. Please, can we define easy, because it's subjective.
It is subjective.
I was like, when you said
Easy
that, I was
run,
like,
conversational pace. I'm like,
yeah, how conversational is the conversational pace?
Yeah, my conversational is sitting down. Like,
We can get on a call and have AirPods, and we'll run a different.
yeah, I was about to say, there we can
different-
go. I'll run flat, you can do the hills. You can do 5Ks, you can do 90.
As long as it's in the mountains, I'm happy.
Yeah, so discipline is a good tool to
Yeah,
learn.
that was a good one, Seb.
good one, yeah. Click that
Thanks.
as well.
Thanks. Thank you, Keri, as well, 2 times always. Really, really insightful. Really enjoyed the conversation. And Kyra, thank you for gracing us with your presence. 18 months and probably more.
yeah.
Let's see when we first posted our first ep.
fine,
Long
fine.
time ago, but it's
I
been
have my
such a
reasons.
pleasure.
I'm usually editing and publishing, so it's always
you
been
watch the
like
pods.
that. Yeah.
Yes, but it was very, very insightful as well from your side. So thank you. And if the people want to find Keri, where do they find you?
Instagram, and now I have a website, thank God.
Congrats.
Last time.
Congrats.
So it's just KeriDietitian on Instagram and Google. So yeah,
Nice.
www.KeriDietitian.com. Yeah,
And your practice is in foreshore
for sure, or yeah, online.
or online.
Online, yeah.
Kyra, where do the people find you?
On Instagram, Kyra_Lyn. That's it.
And at
Lyn.
Horizon Gym.
Or
And at Horizon Gym, yes.
If you're looking for PT.
Yes, that's probably where you'll find me first.
Yes. Shout out. Thank you so much. And we will catch you all in the next episode.
Cheers.
That was very long and nice. Thank you so much for listening to the show, guys. We love answering specific questions. So if there's anything you want to know, leave a comment or reach out to us directly at HorizonZA on Instagram or email us at movement@horizongym.com. Until next time, I'm your host, Seb Prentice, and this is Beyond Physical.